A very good evening and a very warm welcome to all of you watching our television. We are here with a special edition on Best Roundup. And speaking of special, we have a very special guest this evening with us. And this person is from the construction and real estate development sector. And he happens to be a giant in the industry with immense knowledge, immense experience and of course expertise, like I said. So I'd like to introduce you to this very special person for this evening, who happens to be none other than Mr. Premalal Brahmanage, the chairman of Prime Group. So very warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Indeed, it's a pleasure to have you on board with us on this conversation. So to start off the conversation, my very first question for you would be based on the government. The government has been giving us these beneficiaries and concessions since its commencement. And one of the very significant benefits that they have given us was the suspension of the VAT, or the nation building tax. So how has it affected your industry or your area of expertise?
In fact, yes, it affected positively. That was a very good gesture from the government. Actually, VAT was never really introduced, but the air was there from 2016 onwards. That was there, and actually VAT had been introduced in November last month, and in December it was abolished. But the impact that has created from 2016 had been immense, and that really has affected the real estate industry. So by removing that, the government has done a correct thing, and they are in the correct path in reviving the real estate sector.
So you say it is a positive impact?
Yes, it's really a positive impact, and then the MBT was there, and then the actual speaking in 2015, 2014, 2016, the real estate sector was doing really well. And then that government at that time, they wanted to introduce VAT and then capital gain tax, and in fact NBT was anyway there, and so that has really badly affected the industry, and that is why the industry's present situation today. The people were uncertain about whether they will have to pay VAT or not and all that. So that has really created a negative sentiments in the real estate sector, and that has affected the industry very badly. And now the government has introduced, which is a very good sign.
So that suggestion, that introduction was certainly a positive impact,
yes, definitely,
on the industry. And moving on to the real question these days, the COVID-19 situation. We are going through a crisis, not only us, it has affected globally, nationally and internationally. Economies are going down because of the situation. So how has this affected, how has COVID-19 affected your particular sector?
Yeah, when it comes to COVID-19, it has affected globally, as you mentioned, and then it has affected every sectors, every industries, every businesses, businessmen, customers, and so on. So it has affected the real estate industry, especially when we build, we'll have to adhere to safety measures, so that if there are 1,000 employees, now we are working through 500 workers or 400 workers. So the timeline might take a little bit time to finish it and all that. But we, as an entrepreneurs, we will have to take all these things in positively, and then we are backed into, of course, with those restrictions, but still we are doing okay now.
Indeed, even though this is a crisis, you're saying we can take it on with a positive mindset.
That's right.
Certainly.
That's what we do, I don't know.
Exactly. Yes. And my next question to you would be, sir, now we have gradually returned to a certain amount of normalcy in our lives. After the imposition of the curfews and the crisis and everything, people have returned to their daily routines, and the business is up and running, the economy is up and running to a certain extent. And how has this normalcy affected your sector, and has it gained any momentum after the return of the normalcy?
Okay, so I can talk about Prime Group. And then we have taken this COVID positively, as I mentioned earlier, and we have really looked at our cost structures, our designs, our way of handling, and then how to market it, how to collect it, and then motivated our employees. And in fact, we had the one of the best months, actually the last month of June. So it was a tremendous team effort, and we have introduced a new housing complex in Malabe, cold waterfall residencies over 60 feet waterfall coming down, and with lot of infrastructure facilities and
So there
all
is an
that.
actual waterfall coming down?
Yes, we
Yes.
have created a waterfall. It's beautiful, and in fact the tremendous response we had within a one day itself. As an entrepreneurs, we cannot just wait and blame COVID or whatever. We will have to change our course of actions and the strategies, and then address to that accordingly. So for us, of course, it's normal, or in certain circumstances, better than normal also.
Better than normal, so there has been no change at all as of yet.
Yeah,
So it's going good for the real estate sector as it seems. And the next question would be, sir, how has the government's contribution, how is it for the industry, for the construction as well as the real estate sector? Is it adequate?
Yes and no. Earlier, of course, the removal of VAT and NBT was a very good positive sign, and then of course the COVID came, and then there may be coming to the sector, so they can revive further. Now, for example, after the financial crisis in Far East, the Malaysia, they introduced a thing called second home concept, where you invest ringgit of 300,000 ringgit and you have 10-year visa. So 300,000 ringgit is something like 10 million. So the government, we were having planning. So government can introduce the visas to, let's say, 250,000, you get 5 years, $500,000, you get to a 10-year, like that. And even we can package it the country, because with COVID, we are the one of the safest countries by way of the health as well as by way of the security. Other than this last year, the bombing, we almost last 9 years or 10 years, we did not have any other than that any incident. So we can really market the country, and then of course we can package it like giving a little bit reduction of the stamp fees. Then there's a capital gain tax which is no use for anybody, it's actually discouraged the investors. So like that we can really market the country. And then now for COVID, we had a task force like that for a vital economic sectors or segments or industries. We can have a task force, and then not only with the government officials, with the entrepreneurs, with the other people and the academics, then we can really drive each sectors the best way. So the government can do a lot of things, and I hope that government will address in time to come, now that we have successfully contained the COVID. So government still can do a lot.
And what you're saying is, sir, that there are a lot of suggestions coming from you, and the government has a lot of potential and capacity in finding opportunities in developing this certain area and in contributing to the industry. So on that note, I think it's time that we head for a break, and we are in conversation with Mr. Premlal Brahmanage, the chairman of Prime Groups. Welcome back, and you're watching Biz Roundup Special Edition. We're in conversation with Mr. Premlal Brahmanage, the chairman of Prime Groups. So to continue the conversation, sir, my next question for you would be, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has been suggesting new suggestions, and he has been giving significant amount of remarks during this particular period. And one of his suggestions was that we should stray away from loans and move on towards FDIs more. That is, basically we should attract more foreign investment to the country. What is your intake on this?
Yes, that is a very good suggestion. Now basically when we take a loan, so the burden is coming again, and then we'll have to service the loan, we'll have to pay back, and then we'll have to the interest cost that is coming and the exchange losses coming up. That's a very good suggestion. Only thing is that, so we will have to create an environment to get the FDI. You know, like what I told earlier, we can, if I talked about the real estate sector, so we can package the real estate sector and then give it to then we can market it. Then the people, at least expatriates, they want to come to Sri Lanka, so they will come. So those FDIs, when they comes, actually, then in case of real estate, so they stay there, no? So when they buy a house or apartment, they don't take it out and go. So like that, and then in case of FDIs, we are really in a very poor attraction. Actually, we are the lowest, like, whereas when you take the last 5 years, Vietnam is averaging something like 25 to 27 billion dollars, and where we are something like 1.5 to 1.7, and we are less than the India, we are less than the other countries as well. So we can really get FDI, and then of course we can develop the country. So only thing that to attract FDI, we will have to give the concession and have the infrastructure for that. Without that, of course, it's just a statement only. So we'll have to now focus it and then go for that.
So President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has been giving many suggestions, and he has been giving these remarks throughout this past period. And one of the very significant remarks and suggestions was that we should stray away from loans and focus more on FDIs, that is basically attracting more foreign investment to the country. So what is your intake on that, sir?
Yeah, that's a very good suggestion, and that is the area that we should focus on. Because when we get loans, of course, we'll have to pay back, and with the interest and so on, and then there can be exchange losses as well. So that's a burden actually. We call the debt burden, no? But we don't call it as FDI burden. So we want to attract. Then they will be the parcel of the development of the country. Only thing is that now that's what even in case of real estate sector, I mentioned those packages as package Sri Lanka for expectors and others is a part of the FDI. When they come here, when they buy apartment or house or whatever, they don't take it home back there. So they stay here, and then when they come here and visit here and stay here, they spend money and so on. So that's another side of that. And when it comes to FDI, of course, we are doing very poorly when you compare with the Vietnam. Maybe last 5 years average is over 25 billion US dollars, and even we are less than Bangladesh even. So that is where, of course, we will have to attract them. To attract, we will have to have our policies, our ease of doing businesses, approvals, then our interest rates are very high, and so on. So we will have to reduce those and then attract them. So we'll have to fight and get it. So I hope that the government will focus more on that, and then if they do so, they will be in the right path.
What you're saying is that as the government has more potential in this suggestion, there's more capacity with regard to this suggestion.
Yes, definitely. We are geographically, we are in a very good place, and our people are talented. Most of can speak English and write and all that, and IT knowledge is there. So all are there. The innovative, all that is there. So right leadership and the right policies, of course, we can do it. And
we have the resources. We just have to get on track.
Yeah.
For the right path.
Yeah,
indeed.
Yes.
So we are getting into a very serious, very interesting question. This is directly towards you, sir, because you have, as an individual, you have got together as an individual of the real estate development sector. You have gotten together with the credit rating agencies. What is the significance with this regard? Yeah,
recently we have got the credit rating rate. Our group, Prime Lands and Prime Residencies, as A- stable by ICRA, subsidiary of Moody. Why we have applied for a credit rating? Credit rating, we are the very first real estate organization to get a credit rating. That was never a requirement. But when we really look at, when somebody buys a house, an apartment or a land or whatever, especially house and apartment, they look at the development. Meaning that they look at the maybe place, then they look at the design, they see the CDs, then they see who is the architect is, and they negotiate the prices and the payment terms, and they do everything, and they look at even the vastu and all that. But they forget to look at the developer, who they are going to deal with, who is going to build that apartment for you, who is going to build your house. So without looking that, they invest or they put their hard-earned money, and a lot of people have lost So we thought as a responsible real estate developer over last 25 years being there, we should go and as a trendsetter or as a benchmark, we should get that rating. Because when people go and invest in a finance company or a bank, they look at the credit rating. Why banks has a credit rating? Why a country has a credit rating? Why a finance company is having? Same way, you are going to put your hard-earned money into a real estate organization for some time unforeseen development. Development will come after 2-3 years time. So that you have a faith. So for that, of course, even for you to take a correct decisions, conscious decisions about your money, it's a good thing that a credit rating has to come in now. Even not only for a customer, even for a supplier, even for a contractor, it's good. I mean, when we build a big apartment, the contractor we select, and he also spend a lot of money and a lot of resources on that. And if I do not pay him, he will go into bankrupt. And in the construction industry, will have already they are having that problem, and even the lot of customers having that problem. To give some smooth running of the industry in the long term, we thought we should go and get a credit rating and create that by ourselves. So that's what we did, and I hope that others will follow on, and then there will be a stability and the smooth functioning of the real estate industry in the future.
Even though this is not written in the books as you need to do this, I think this is an absolute necessity that people should follow.
That's right.
And it is indeed very admirable that you have taken initiative in getting together with the credit rating agencies.
That's what we did. I mean, even for you to, you can become a real estate, you will just get a land and then have some agreement and have a nice 3D, and with you advertising all the TV and all that, you can advertise and collect money, and people will come and pay you money, and then you will not deliver. So then, so that is the area that we will have to look into.
All right, so now if we talk about the future of the rest of the 2020, what is your outlook on that?
We are very positive, and as entrepreneurs, of course, real estate in Sri Lanka, real estate is people are investing in a real asset, and then the lands are in a scarcity, and you will go and invest in a real asset, and that virtually if you do a correct decision, it gets appreciated, or at least you will not lose your capital. So real estate is always booming in Sri Lanka, and it has to be. And then now the government is in the right path. They have reduced taxes, and then they have reduced the interest rates, so that the people can come and buy, and then even the cost of getting a loan has now reduced. I used to say earlier that our buildings are built on not cement, sand and steels and so on. Our buildings are built on taxes and interest. If we reduce those two, actually the construction, the cost of apartment would come down, or the houses will come down. Actually now it's happening, and which is a good thing.
So what you're saying is that you have a good feeling about the future, that there is a favorable environment to develop the business and the industry. So
yes,
we have a good feeling about the rest of the 2020 and a good forecast, that is. So finally, you are a giant in the industry. You have a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge, and of course expertise in this particular field. So we have a lot of up and budding entrepreneurs with new ventures and with new businesses coming up. So would there be any piece of advice for you? There is this phrase, if I remember correctly, that you were inspired by the phrase that you can even eat an elephant, but it has to be piece by piece, if I'm right.
Yes.
So what is the advice that you would like to give to our coming entrepreneurs, the budding ones?
Yeah, basically if you want to become an entrepreneur, basically better to look at what your expertise are, and then what you like. So it has to be like a marriage, so you should have the fun with that. You really should enjoy what you are doing. So that's the first thing. Having understand or identified that one, of course you will have to take risks and go ahead and do it. And once you do it, and then what will happen to most of the I see the young entrepreneurs is that they are in a mighty hurry. So they wanted to conquer the world, and the Sri Lanka, and not only Sri Lanka, conquer the world, and it's a matter of very maybe 5-10 years, or not even 10 years, within 5 years like. So that is where the focus is going. So you will have to really committed and focus, and then as the phrase is that you will have to gradually have that steps and then go on to whatever your achievements and so on. So I may be old fashioned, but that is more steady. And then the other one is that your cash flow, very very important. When you do a business, your money is not belong to you. That money that are coming is belong to the company or the entity. So it's a cash flow that is coming, and you will have to safeguard and protect it that properly. So what will happen to most of the young entrepreneurs, I would see the moment they have a little bit of cash and they take another loan and they go and buy houses, the luxury cars and the watches and foreign trips and so all that. You can have it later, not immediately, not out of your company's money. So that is where the real, I would see the difference coming for the one. So that the money is belong to not to you. You can take a decent salary or whatever, but at least for some time you will have to. The thirdly is the other one is your focus. You cannot be a master of all the industries. You maybe have a passionate about 1 or 2 or 3 industries. Focus on that and then build on that. Now even our case, I'm real estate, and then little bit of finance. We have the prime finance, and we have the 40%, almost 39% of H&B finance and so on. But we are focusing on the real estate, and within the real estate scope, we can do a lot. And then the housing, lands, the apartments, then apartments abroad, then the commercial development, then the retirement development and so on. We can do a lot. Then most of the projects are, what happened is, sometimes those are ego projects. You earn bread and butter from your core business, and then you go and waste those monies in other ego projects, so that I have this one, I have this business, I have that business and so on. But they really eat your core business money. And what happens later is, ultimately people have to say core business core.
And with that, I think the message that you're trying to give is that we should not look for shortcuts in life or for success that matter. We should not give up, and we should stick to what we do. So that is the message coming your way from the chairman of Prime Group. So thank you very much for joining with us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on board with us. And with that note, we have come to the end of the special discussion on Biz Roundup. Until we meet again with another program, good night and take care.